All right, so we got casement windows by Anderson, otherwise known as crank windows. And there you see one that works, and here you see one that truly is just broken. A lot of these are pretty old, and so a lot of them are pretty broken. And if you find yourself in the position here where you need to replace one of those so you can use your window properly again, you're going to want to watch this video. Here I'm going to demonstrate this is a problem when the window pushes open like that, especially on the second floor. And if you have little children at home like I do, you really worry about them opening that window and just falling straight out. So when the window crank is engaged, they don't just push open like that. They actually have to be cranked. So the first thing we got to do is remove the wood trim there, and it's probably painted or caulked shut, and so you need to score that with a knife. My windows have been painted many times, and so hopefully yours are easier to work on than mine, but I have to really dig that knife in to get through all the paint, and it's kind of a pain in the butt, but just follow the lines there and get it everywhere that you can. And then it's most likely that this sucker is going to be nailed in. And then you got to be pretty careful when you go to pry it up. So first here, I'm going to be finishing up scoring this. You can see it's taking longer to do than it does me to say it. Easier said than done, as I guess they would say. All right, so I think I scored that pretty good. What do we think here? So next, I'm probably going to go outside and I'm going to try and locate where the nails are. In this particular one, I wasn't able to locate the nails. I was looking pretty good, but turns out the nails were just on the front of it. The reason I'm trying to locate the nails is because that's where you would want to pry it up. This one here, you can kind of see where one of the nails is. It's helpful if you can see the nails. If it's not, then you just got to try and do your best. Essentially, I grab a crowbar or a hammer, a nail bar, anything like that. And I'm not putting a lot of force on this. I will tell you these are easy to break. And if you break them, then you're going to have to glue them back together because getting a replacement part is pretty much non-existent. So you want to be sure that you don't totally damage up your window casing there. Oh, and see, I broke that one. Damn it. So I decided to take a different approach because I realized this one did have nails. I thought maybe it didn't and it was just caulked in, but it definitely did. The nails were nailed in the front and I wasn't able to see them from the back side. So I needed to get in there. A little bit of collateral damage there, unfortunately. But once you get it pried up, then you can pretty much just lift it straight out. Mine are usually a tight fit. I got like 40 of these around the house, and I've been doing them one here and one there. They're pretty much all broken because the house at this point is 44 years old, and these were original windows. So this is a good time to clean up. There's really no opportunity to clean these except for when that window casing is off. So clean it up as best as you can. I'm going to clean it with a vacuum and a sponge in a few different ways. But essentially, you need to get that trim off so that you can access the screws that are holding in the crank. So mine was held in with 3 screws, even though there was spots for 5. Yours might have 5. Yours might have 3. Hey, maybe yours has 1. But I access all 3 of mine there. And once I get those screws out, that's it. I mean, that thing is ready to just come off. So we'll just get rid of that. Yep. And so we're also going to want to remove the rail that is attached to the window. I found that you don't necessarily have to replace those, because it just depends on how dirty yours are. But the replacement kit comes with a new one, and I say why not replace it if the kit comes with one. I found that around my house I had replaced it on some windows and other ones not. On the top floor, I can't exactly stand underneath the window like I am on this one on the bottom floor. And so I left some of those up there because it's hard to do it blind. But I would recommend replacing them. They do work better. Um, so I finally got that part off, and now we're going to look for the replacement parts. These are still sold by Anderson Window Supply, and they are not cheap. They are hells of expensive. And if you got 43 windows around your house like I do, you'll know that this is a major undertaking, repairing all these windows around the house. But there's nothing quite like a casement window. I should have pointed out there are lefts and rights, and they're kind of opposite of what you would think. So pay careful attention to which is left and which is right when you're ordering these, because when you're going around the house, you probably have a left and a right when you got two windows, but when you have one window, it could be a left or a right. And so you want to make sure that you order the correct parts, because like I said, they are expensive, and it sucks. But I hope that the new ones will last, another decade or so. Hopefully longer. I just have no idea how long the ones that were all broken around my house had been broken for. The house is 44 years old. There was a couple that still kind of worked, but I bought replacements for every single one of them. And you got to buy the crank separately. So when you go to put this in, you got to attach the crank so that you can move the arm a little bit. And that's the reason is because the arm is blocking one of the screw holes. So you can see I'm just kind of maneuvering that a little bit there so that I can screw that sucker in. Now I'm reusing the screws that were originally on my old ones because they were a little bit fatter than the screws that came in the package. And well, I can't sit there and put smaller screws into the big screw holes. And frankly, there's nothing wrong with the original screws. So I just reused the exact same screws that I pulled out. But since mine only had 3 screws in originally, I did take the opportunity to use the 2 longer screws that came in the package to do the 5 screw setup so that they'd be nice and sturdy. Because my theory was that, if it's designed for that many, you might as well get all the stability you can, and maybe it'll last longer. So anyways, we get that all screwed in. No big deal there. And now pretty much you just got to reattach to the window. And you just lift that up and clip it on that rail there. Now, part of what gets worn out on these windows is not just the crank, but it's also the hinges. I'm using some WD-40, which is not going to last. What you got to do is get some lithium grease and really grease in on the hinges. The WD-40 worked quite well, but it's a very temporary fix. We know that it's going to dry out and be problematic. You need to get a proper grease, and I'm going to have to go around and grease all my hinges. I would recommend you get grease right up front. But if you don't have grease and you didn't get grease, then at least spray some lubricant on the hinges, because if the hinges don't move freely, then you're going to be putting a lot more stress on your brand new cranks. And you don't want to wear out your brand new cranks. You want them to last. So make sure that there's as little amount of resistance as possible. So here I'm just testing out. You can see they're operating totally normal now. And then, we pretty much just got to put it back together. Let's see here. What am I going to do? Oh, yes, I decided to wash this. Now, I know some butt here is going to be like, oh, why are you getting your wood wet? It's going to, swell and this and that and whatever other crap you came up with. But I don't know, dude. This thing was so dirty because we've been remodeling around the house. And, frankly, if I didn't put it in the sink, I would just get a wet sponge to clean it. So, whatever. I need to clean it so that I can sand it and, paint it and all that. So, anyway, I'm using a heated dog fur dryer to just blow this off, just to get the most of that moisture off. But for those who do care that I just got my wood casing all wet, just know that it's summertime during the point of this install, and we're going to let them dry out properly before we paint them so we don't seal in moisture. So hopefully that's okay with you. Well, like I said, might have been painted several times, and this probably isn't necessary for the tutorial, but I don't know, I decided to just video what I was doing. So I sanded off bad rough paint spots so that when we go back and repaint it, it'll hopefully look as good as possible. So this one I cracked. I should have put some wood glue in there and put it on some clamps and glue it back together, but truthfully the crack wasn't that bad, so I just kind of figured a little bit of caulk and some paint would hold it together, because it's not like this is a part that is moving around or anything. It's just there in place, totally still. This one I'm just trying to get lined up because I pulled the nails out and I'm gonna have to re-nail it. Some of my window casings are really tight and I had to like hammer them into place, so this one was like kind of a force of habit just to close the gaps, but this one actually wasn't so bad, so maybe yours won't be real bad either. I couldn't really say one way or another, but before you nail it in, you definitely want to make sure that it's sitting right where you want it. So I put 3 nails in there right on the front so that it stays in place, and you definitely don't need to go to town on this sort of thing. A lot of mine were originally only held in with 2 nails anyway. Here I got a good caulking. This is the same caulk I use for baseboards or whatever, so it's a good product. I'm pretty happy with it. And I mean, I'm mostly, what is this? It's aesthetics, but it's also insect proofing. You don't want little critters crawling through there, so you want to caulk off everything. Make sure that you have a good seal and tight fitment around your window crank there and all the window casings, because no one likes critters getting into their house. I mean, maybe some sick freak does, but anyway, it doesn't require a whole lot. Then when I caulk stuff, I use a water and baby oil spray around it. I have found a lot of success in using that when I go to bead the corners with my finger, that I don't get any caulk where I don't want it. If you've ever done caulking, how easy it is to accidentally spread it somewhere where you don't want it, and then you gotta sit there and try and clean it off with a rag or let it look like crap. A little bit of the spray basically protects every other area from that stuff sticking to it. So I apply the caulk first, and then I spray it, and then when I spread the caulking does not accidentally get on anything that I don't want it to be on. It's actually pretty awesome. My wife's brother taught me that sweet little hack. I've never seen anyone else do that, and it's really clever idea as far as caulking goes. Anyway, we're closing in here on the end. Hope that you found this video helpful. At this point, I'm ready to let it dry out and